Good evening once again. Today is our day 25 of this IT employability bootcamp for women. And as always, we are going to start by showing our outlines. That is what we are going to cover for the day. We are going to have, okay. So we are going to have a recap on the 24th. That's what we have discussed on the 24th. Then we are going to talk about count. Then we are going to talk about count A. Then we are going to talk about count blank. Then we are going to have a question and answer session. Then we have conclusion, and then we call it a day. So recap on the 24. In the 24, we talk about percentage. We also talk about average. We talk about simple arithmetics, where we talk about addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. In average, also we said the average is always total count or total sum divided by total count, which we already have a function that will cover that. All we have to do is just write the function, which is average. Then you highlight the range, then it will give you the average. Then we also talk about percentage, where we see how you can yeah, get your percentage. The formula is always specific divided by total, then you multiply by 100. So say you are having, let's say you are having, here you are 30. So if we take the percentage of people joining versus sorry, if you want to know the percentage of people joining the what do you call it, joining the meeting, let's say since we are having this number of participants, we will say we will divide it by total number of participants we have in the group. I think we are having 119 participants. So if we take 34, we want to know the percentage of just those that joined. So we'll just say 34 divided by total number of participants in the group, which is 119. Then you multiply it by 100. That's how you will get the percentage of people that join. I'm just giving it to you as an example. So that's what we have discussed last time. Today we are, as I said, we are going to talk about what do you call it? Count blank, and count it. So let's go to the Excel interface directly. Um, so for count, as I said, for count, it's always count the total number of cells, the total number of cells that contains a number. Count is always counting the total number of cells that contains a number. Let me quickly create my table. Let's say serial number names. Let's say exam score, like this. Okay, so now I will start with serial number. Okay, full name, let me adjust it. Then for exam, let me just, so for names, let me just have random names. Let me say, I will just be picking random names, maybe from the number from the participants. I have Adama Ibrahim, Fatima Ahmad Rukaya, Aisha Tunura. So yeah. Okay, so anyhow, let me just leave it like that, or I'll just copy some and just paste them just to have. Okay, so now these are the list of names. Let me just I don't think I have to style it since we already know how to customize the table for us to save time. Now, as we said, count is always counting the total number of cells that contains a number. So, first we'll do the formula, then we'll have practical application of it. We are copying this range. So first we'll just say is equals to count like this. Then you select your range. My range is from here, C3 up to C21. That is my range. Then I will press enter. So you see it's giving me 19 entries. So far it's saying that I'm having 19 entries, since numbers should always uh, since the variable or the column of school should always contains a number. So it's showing that, yeah, I'm having 19 entries. Now let me get rid of this one. For instance, you see I'm having 18 entries. As you can see, I'm having 17 entries. So this is the function of count. It's always counting the total number of cells that contains a number within the selected range. So this is the range I have selected. So that is for count A, for count. Then for count A, it's counting the total number of cells that are not empty. It's counting the total number of cells that are not empty for count A, counting the total number of cells that are not empty. So I will say is equals to count A. Then I will highlight my range like this. Then I'll press enter. So you see it's gave me 19 entries. So far I'm having 19 entries in county. So counting the total number of cells that are not empty. So for count blank is counting the total number. Let me label them. Here I'll say it's count. Here I'll say it's count. Sorry. Here I'll say is count. Sorry, here is count A. Yeah, here is count blank. So now for the count blank, as the name implies, it's counting the total number of cells that are empty. It's counting the total number of cells that are empty. So I will say count blank like this. Then I will highlight this. Then I will press enter. So you see it's giving me the total number of cells that are not empty. So now looking at this, it seems like, does this make any sense? It will just be ringing to your mind that, does this make any sense? Counting the number of cells that contains a number, counting the total number of cells that are not empty, counting the total number of cells that are empty. Does it make any sense? So now let's see practical application of this three formulas we have done. Let's say you have a big data, you have exam score of students. Now, the exam score might contains, maybe you want to know if the data is having inconsistency. So normally you are not expecting to have what do you call it, to have empty cells. It's either zero or something like that, but you cannot leave your cells empty. That's number one. Another thing is that you are not expecting to have something like A or something like any letter, any alphabet, any character in your cells. Do you understand? So this count A, count blank, and count, sometimes it helps you to pinpoint the discrepancy, total number of discrepancies you have in your data. Let's say you have multiple columns. Let's say here is a grade column, for instance, or let me just say LG, let me name it as grade, for instance. So you see, for the for the second column, which is column C, I'm expecting to have only numbers. So now if I do count, first I will do count A. So the count for this. So if I do count for this, if I apply count formula for this, and I've seen the entries what do you call it? 17, for instance. So it will come to my mind that I'm having two discrepancies if the total number of cells are what do you call it? If the total number of entries I'm expecting is 19. So if I see 17, I'll get to realize that, yeah, I'm having two discrepancies in my data. The same thing applicable to count A. It's allowing me to see how many cells I've missed. You understand? Let's do it and see. Let me just add. Let's see how it works. Let's say I have many columns. Oh, I don't know, maybe I can use your data, but not all of your data because there are some things. Let me use your data. I will stop sharing so that I can open your data. Good. I'm with you. I'm just trying to hide some things. Okay, so now let me reshare it back again. Good. So, are we there? I think I will have to close the names also. I will have to close the names also. So this is your data. This is your data. It's having how many entries? Let me see. It's having 597 entries. Let me unfilter it. Good. So now this is the data I'm having. Now I want to see if I'm having any discrepancies. We'll add the discrepancies intentionally. We'll add the discrepancies. Let's say for this column of local government, I just write 56 here. 56 is inconsistent. Here I write, let me see here, I write 54. You see here, I write 55. Just writing maybe rubbish like this, 46. Good. Um, so now I know I'm having 597 entries. That is what I'm expecting. Totally, I'm expecting 597 entries. So now let's see. In the column of LGA, now I want to I want to check the discrepancies in the column of LGA. If the data type is not an alphabet, it's not a character, I will say, yeah, this column, this data is inconsistent. Now let's see. I will see how many what do you call it? How many clean data and sorry, consistent and inconsistent data I'm having in column of LGA. So now I will say LGA like this, then I will say total number of consistent data, total, oh, I'll just say, let me just say consistent. Good. So now for LGA normally I'm expecting it to be in letter and sorry in characters, which is alphabet, not numbers. So now I will say is equals to uh count A. Hold on, is not supposed to be count A. It will carry is something different because let me change it. Let me change this LGA because let me just add another column somewhere here. Because for LGA, yeah, so I will say H, for instance, I will say H. Good. So now let me just have random H's. Good. So is column K, right? H. So you see, whenever in each column, if I see a character, if I see anything that is not a number, I know, yeah, this is invalid data. Let me say valid, invalid data. Good. So anything that is not a number in this column is invalid. Anything that is not a number is invalid. So now I'm counting the total number of valid and invalid data I'm having in each column. So let me just intentionally add some invalid data here. Let me see BSc. Yeah, let me see HND, for instance. Yeah, let me see diploma. You see all these ones. Let me just say do say. Yeah, let me say Abuja here. So you see all this data. Some I maybe I've asked to enter age. Someone write BSc, which is invalid data. I've asked here, someone wrote HND, which is an invalid data for each column. So, and there's so much more. So now I want to see how many valid and invalid data I'm having. Because if I'm having too much invalid data, I cannot work with the data anymore. So now for the valid data, I will say is equals to count like this. So I will say count. Then I will highlight from here to the last column like this. Then I'll press enter. Good. So you see, I'm having 592 valid data. So for invalid data, I will say, now how am I going to know my invalid data? And invalid data is, since we are dealing with numbers here, we only need numbers. I will say anything that is not a number. So how am I going to get that? For me to get that is, so since for the total data, if I want to get the total record that are not empty, I will say count A. I will say count A like this. Then I would select from start to the end like this. So you see, this is for this my count A. This is the total number of records I'm having. This is total number of records I'm having. I'm having 597 records. 597 records. They are not my invalid data, but they are my total data. So now how am I going to get my invalid data? For me to get my invalid data, I will subtract the valid data from total number of valid data. So I will just say minus, then I will say count like this. Then I will highlight also from, then I'll press enter. Okay, please, are we there? So this is how you check the valid and invalid data when you are dealing with numbers. When you are dealing with numbers. Let's try for alphabet and see. So for alphabets, now you have to understand it very well. For alphabet, if we said we should use, oh, let's see who can, let's have an interactive session and see who can tell me if we want to use alphabets. You see, for this valid data, we use count because we are dealing with numbers and column of age. But for this, for instance, like this, in this BSc, and this has already has qualification, we have BSc, SSc, and what have you. So now, how are we going to know our valid data? Which formula are we going to use to know our valid data? Let's see if there is any contribution. Please, you can indicate in the charts. If there is any contribution, you can indicate in the charts. Please indicate in the chat if there is any contribution. What if we are dealing with what do you call it? What if we are dealing with alphabets, not numbers? I believe you understand this. Do you understand it? Oh, I should take it again. I believe you understand it. So I'm waiting for your response. What if we are dealing with numbers, not sorry, what if we are dealing with alphabets, not numbers? We said for numbers, you just say count. For you to get the valid record, you just use count formula, since count is counting the cells that contains a number. So now let's say we have a highest qualification column. Let's say we have qualification. Now valid, invalid. Good. So how do we get the valid and how do you get the invalid? I'm still waiting for anybody's contribution or response. There is no response. There is no any response from anybody. Okay, so let me just continue. For qualification, for qualification, now if I use count A, if I use count A, for instance, I say it's equals to count A, like This is my starting point. So I select from here to the last, like this, my valid data. I am having 597 valid data. But now let's say I will write 55 here. 55 is an invalid data. Of course, we are very sure that 55 is an invalid data. But you see, it's still not decreasing. It's still showing that I'm valid, despite the fact that 55 is an invalid data. So now, how can we count the total number of valid data for when we are dealing with alphabets only without numbers? So if we are dealing with alphabets only without numbers, and we want to know the total number of valid data we are having, what we should do is that after having calculated, find the total number of cells that are not empty, then I will subtract them. I will subtract the total number of cells that are numbers in the total in the complete number of cells that are not empty. So I will say count A minus count minus count like this. Then I will highlight from L2 to L598. Now I'll close my bracket like this. Good. So you see, I've closed my bracket. So now you see I'm having this one also. Let me change it from L2 to L597 so that you'll not be confused. From L2 to L598. Good. So now, as you can see now, I'm having one invalid data. So it's showing that, yeah, my valid data is 596. Now let me change this one to 20 also. You see the total number of valid data decreased to 595. Let me see this one. Our total valid data changed to changed to 594. So the same thing whenever I'm having what do you call it? Whenever I'm having a number inside qualification column, I know that that data is invalid data. So I'll say is equals to count, then I will say L2 to L598. Then I'll close my brackets like this. Then I'll press enter. So you see, I'm having 3 invalid data while I'm having 594 valid data. So this is how we apply what do you call it? Count if, oh sorry, count A and count blank to extract valid and invalid data. Then you can go ahead and see the percentage of valid data and the percentage of invalid data. Or how do we do that? I believe you know how to calculate the percentage. So since you know how to calculate the percentage, calculating the percentage of valid or invalid data will not be difficult for you. So this is what we are going to cover for today, where we have talked about count A, count blank, and how we will apply them in real life activities. I don't know if there is any question, please, you can ask your question. Please, if there is any question, my comment section is open. You can ask your question. Please, is there any question? Some are just joining us now. Please, do we have any question? Any question? Any question, please? Any question, please? Please, any question? So I think there is no any question. Someone is saying she's confused. You can rewatch the video. You can rewatch the video. If you rewatch it, you will understand. Had it been there is a specific place that you don't understand, I would have explained that for you. But saying that you are confused, I don't know where I don't even know where to start. But you can just rewatch the video so that you understand more. Okay, so I think with the absence of any question, we can call it a day. Have a wonderful night.